I think that the more that policymakers, lawmakers, etc., can hear those stories, not necessarily just the lows, but also the highs, the what's possible. I think that be they would do things very, very differently. Why should children be, in a different space because they're different? If as a society we lock them away in different places, or we exclude them, we separate them out, then society doesn't grow that compassionate, you know um ethos or principle, and they kind of not necessarily shun them, but kind of they're made to feel different all the time and not belonging. And I think that where we can, we should always include children in mainstream, but we have to make sure that their needs are met. And I was really quite disappointed, that I was engaged in a project, and because of, I guess, the confidentiality of the material, they were suggesting that those children and young people who needed, say, extra time, for reading, maths, or whatever, or could be in that class, who could take that test, but if they needed extra time, they would be excluded. Now, to me, if you're trialing something, how can you possibly put people through it that have an additional need if you haven't involved them in the testing of that? And so it just felt like we're perpetuating something that still feels like it's very exclusionary, even though we want the illusion of that we're inclusive. And that doesn't sit well with me. So, what can we do differently? How can we do this differently? I've got solutions. I don't ever come just with the problems.
And I think also being a contributor to life
Mm,
doesn't only revolve around academics and
mm,
academic prowess and ability, because if it did, Jen wouldn't be anywhere.
mm,
But there are so many other sort of complementary skills that we all need in order to be able to survive in society, and that people, other people might be able to bring to the table that actually we can't bring to the table with the best one in the world. We don't come with that skill set. And so, as you say, if you break people up, if you have camps for different people to operate in, how can people ever learn? How can people ever understand that compassion is an incredibly important skill? And if you're not given the opportunity to learn it, then how do you go about that? I don't know what you think, Lace, but I don't think that Anthony has ever been disadvantaged by having Jen for a sister. In fact, I think if anything, I think it's been good for him. And it's taught him that not only does he actually needs to embrace her as a human being, but also that she has different needs. And I don't, well, I mean, he might tell me otherwise, but I'm not aware that he would ever say he's been embarrassed by having Jen for a sister. But in the normal way of things, when you're just out and about and you're being a family and you're going and doing whatever you're doing, then I don't think any of us have ever had that sentiment that just because Jen has a learning disability makes her any different as far as any of us are concerned to the rest of society. And I think the flip side of the coin is I think it's been good for him to
mm.
have a sibling with a learning disability, because it's taught him things that he otherwise would arguably have not had the opportunity to learn in the same way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that is absolutely true for my other children, and particularly the boys. I mean, her sister is like her second mom anyway. That's her mom. But the boys, and particularly my middle son, he was kind of like, oh, maybe in the past I would have laughed at somebody, and it's quite honest. But he said, but then my sister was born, and then I realized I had to be her, I had to be her protector. And it's kind of he's really, seeing how things can be different for her and how she can be treated. And I think her younger brother, um, he's such an empathetic young man. And you could see that even from primary school. He was very close to them, about 5 years apart, but they were in primary school together and then they went to mainstream school together. And wouldn't say he's popular, but he was popular. But because of the way that he was, any young person that came to the school who, say, was from a different country, different language, culture, etc., he would be the one that mentored them because they saw in him that he had that like I said, empathy, compassion, that he could mentor people, just a really nice guy. And he still is. And I absolutely think that's because they have a sister who, the youngest one, so they're all looked after anyway. But also they had to learn that there were things that she may not be able to do like them. But also she's very much the life and soul of the family. She's the one that always kind of got the limelight. She was just a little celebrity in one of the towns. So yeah, yeah, I think they definitely learn to be different. And I think, but I also saw how even her being in a mainstream primary and secondary school changed the school. Because a lot of the young people, she may have been the kind of highest tariff child in the school in that sense. So, one with severe, difficulties in that respect, but they all embraced her. And yeah, at times it was quite difficult in the sense of you got new children in that didn't quite, had never seen a child with a disability in a school, mainstream school, and they would, I guess, start poking fun. And that she had a whole tribe that would just gather around her and say, no, we're not having this. And she soon learned, but she was also able to navigate that, like you said, through different skills, through dance. If she couldn't communicate, she'd do it through dance, and she'd dance battle these boys, and then they were like, oh, because she was such a good dancer, oh my gosh, she's great. Or she would play the drums, and then they'd realize that, oh gosh, she's not what we thought she was. She's
Yes,
definitely got some
yes.
skills. So yeah, I think that's a gift of our young people, and I think that should be celebrated. And I think what I want is for them to be given a chance to showcase that more.
My name's Jen. This is my mum Sue. I'm just full of praise right now. I just speaking from my heart of hearts. Thank you so much. This means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, to all of my dancing family and Down syndrome. This is just because dance is my passion. Because we are all united together, and together we can dream, believe, achieve.